it's the next level.
That's pathetic.
Yeah, well, at least he didn't shank my ass.
No, bro. He shanked your heart.
Is that my bathrobe?
No.
Look, who cares what he shanked? He knows something about time travel.
Wait, why don't you just do your thing and time travel us out?
Anyone care to explain?
First time he tried, he got lost in the apocalypse.
Second time he ended up without hair in his balls.
The last time I tried, I scattered my family across 3 years in Dallas, Texas, possibly triggering a doomsday. Any more questions, Elliot?
I know.
Guys, you're all missing the big picture here. Dad is the ringleader of a sinister cabal that's planning to kill the president.
Cabal?
Ignore him. Look, the way I see it, we only have one option.
Oh, yeah? What's that?
It's time to get the Umbrella Academy back together.
Hey, panelers, welcome back to the show. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve. And, last week, Mark, I didn't realize until I was listening to Strange Indeed, their podcast over episode 4, that we didn't even bring up, I can't remember, maybe we did in passing very quickly, the possibility of Lila being one of the other, 36 children. Because if she was 4 years old in 1993, that means she would have been born in 1989. So she could be one of the 36 other children that we don't know anything about from the October 1989.
I think we questioned it.
Did we?
A little bit.
Okay, we
yeah.
might have. I haven't re-listened to our podcast yet, so I just heard like I said, Rima and Paik mention it on Strange Indeed, and I was like, oh, I don't think Mark and I even speculated over it. so
yeah,
maybe we did.
It's a good question for the fact that, she was one, and on top of that, she was saved by the handler.
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
you would think, that would be a nice force to have on her side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, depending on what power she has, or if she has power, if she even is one of the other 36, I don't know. So it just was an interesting speculation.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So what is this episode about?
This week we're covering the Umbrella Academy Season 2, Episode 5, Valhalla. And the synopsis for that episode is, summoned to an emergency meeting, the siblings hatch very different plans for how to spend their last 6 days on Earth. Lila confronts her mother. And yeah, she does.
Yeah, that's an interesting synopsis. I don't know. That's pretty vague. That's pretty good. Some of these synopses have been very spoiler, like...
usually they're very spoilery or very vague.
Yeah.
Either or. And with this one, it's like, yep, this is kind of vague. They just, they came together, and Lila confronts her mother. So.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure, like, I'm trying to even remember. I guess that was, there was a little bit, that was a small part of the episode, but really.
I bring that up in my notes,
too,
okay.
Because,
it kind of made me speculate, and that's, and I looked at what you were writing, and I thought right away, oh, yeah, she might be one of the kids that were born in 89, but, as we see in the fight, but we'll go into this further once we get into our top fives.
Yeah. In general, though, this was a really good middle episode. Like, it left us, I really wanted to go to the next one. But it had some really good stuff in it as well, so.
Oh, definitely. A lot of action, too, which I liked. And and a lot of the humor, too. I just loved a couple of scenes that they had throughout it, especially with Allison, Vanya, and Klaus getting drunk and stuff like that.
Yeah, there was a good mixture in this episode. At first, I thought it was kind of slow, but then as I watched it and rewatched it, I was like, no, this episode really is really good.
Yeah, it is. I enjoyed it. I think this was the one that I was looking forward to the most.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get into that when we talk about it, because there's one finer point that I brought up when we covered last season, the first season, and I finally got it. So if you want to start off with our top fives, that would be great.
Absolutely.
Wonder if it's too late to be unadopted.
So my number 5 is just getting kind of this brief beginning, the Pogo kind of origin story, but not just that. I really liked whatever they did, whether it was puppet or animatronics or CGI or motion capture or whatever. I really thought they did a really great job of, like, especially when he's in the spacesuit and he's in the capsule and you start to see everything kind of go haywire and his face just kind of goes through these contortions and stuff, that it really it was really well done, I thought, anyway. And we really got to see a lot of Reggie and Grace here, kind of the early years. And I keep wondering what that serum was. Was that the same serum that he used?
That he gave Luther?
Yeah, I was wondering
Yeah,
if,
that's
it was the
what I was
same, if
thinking.
it was the same serum or something like that, because we know Pogo already appeared intelligent, or fairly intelligent for a primate, I guess, before that serum, but obviously after that serum, he became even more so, I think.
Yeah, it actually, that was in my notes, and I'll just eliminate that later when we go into our notes. But yeah, that serum that Reginald Hargreaves gives Pogo, and it just like made me think back to season 1 when he gave that serum to Luther. And on top of that, he's giving intelligence to Pogo at this point. But with Luther, it changed it so that he got the strength of like an ape.
Yeah.
And that to me really shows, I'm like, okay, so his experiments were more involved with apes than anything, but he must have been working with DNA maybe or something with humans.
Yeah.
And maybe that's where it works out. I would love to get like some sort of information based upon that. Obviously we're getting a 3rd season, so maybe they bring that up at a later time. But I'm hoping we get an answer for that later on, because I would love to know what the serum thing is about. At least, I'm glad that we got that image there. And then now we know why Pogo is as smart as he is, intellectual, and
Right. And being able to talk and everything. Yeah.
Correct. And my number 5 is basically the same thing, Pogo. We finally got what I wanted to see last season, and I mentioned it before, the history of Pogo. I just love that we finally got that completely. I wonder, like I said before, and you brought it up, the serum. So, like I said, I want to see that. I just loved how they put in Peter Schilling's Major Tom / Coming Home, the song, during that scene of his development. It kind of fit for that particular scene. And I just love the idea of the music and how it rings through to what's going on, because it's all about coming home, and we see Pogo's crash to Earth, and then he's damaged, and he has to, Hargreaves has to give him that serum.
Yeah. So that brings us to my number 4.
Yes.
Which is Allison and Klaus. I love that whole day drinking thing they had, and their kind of time of bonding together. And the first time I watched it, for some reason, I really keyed in on Klaus and Allison, but I didn't realize until the second and third time that I watched it that Vanya was right there with them. So there was kind of a continuity issue for me here. It's not major. It just it brings me to the only real, not a criticism I have of the show, but it's maybe the only critical thing I have to say about the show is there's a lot of things that happen kind of off screen that we don't ever know, because like I guess 5 says he's gonna go get Vanya, or he said he's gonna go get Allison, and because Luther doesn't want to go get Allison for the little meeting, he pops away, and then the next scene we get is they're all together having their meeting. So we don't actually see 5 going and getting Vanya. We don't see how he went and got Allison and Klaus and got them back to Elliot's, and then we see him, Klaus, why is he lying about seeing Ben? I don't know why.
Yeah, I had that. Yeah, in my notes. It's so weird because anytime Ben's name is brought up and he goes, "Oh, I don't think ghosts can time travel."
Yeah, it just seems like maybe if it's a little dig against Ben, because they were having their little tiff when Ben didn't help him with the poker, and but Ben's been helping him in the police station and stuff. So it just doesn't. I don't understand why he wouldn't just tell the rest of the group that Ben is there. And but I did love that he's like, do we want to go get tacos? We get tacos, and Vanya's like, well, do tacos in the world? And he's, and so they go, and then we get that marvelous dance routine to "Twist in the Night Away." We get another one of those music things.
Well, I think you had it a little mixed up, maybe because Klaus is in Allison's home. They have their day drinking. He talks about tacos, yes. But that was before Five picked them up and brought them to the house.
No, I watched it yesterday, and I'm telling you, the order of events is screwy. Okay.
Really?
They wake up in Allison's house. And Klaus is drinking, and she says, "Do you see? Yeah, do you see Ben?" He's like, "No, I'm talking to some cowboy." And she starts to take a drink from his flask and goes, "Ooh, no, I've got a blender, and I've got better liquor or better liquor." And then it cuts to Five telling Luther and Diego they need to get the family together for a meeting, and he pops away, and then the next scene we have Allison and Klaus, and then it's after they have the family meeting that Allison, Klaus, and Vanya go back to the hair salon, because that's where they get the tacos.
And then they continue drinking, and they all and then Klaus gives that line of, do you think Five would be a hottie?
And they just have that fun scene, but it's a weird. It just the continuity was just off for me, because then the three of them are together, and they cut to Luther, because Allison says, "Well, shouldn't we wait for them to come back?" And this is before they go to the hair salon, before they get the tacos. And Klaus says, "No, they've got to do their bro thing, and we don't know how long that'll take." And so then we have Luther and Diego together, and then Five has his little chase with Lila, and so they all kind of get separated, and then the episode ends with Vanya coming back to the house drunk, and Sissy and Carl are there, and then it ends with Diego and Luther getting the note from Hargreaves, and there's just some continuity in this episode that just didn't fit together for me, really. I don't know if it was just the way it was edited or what, but it was a little weird.
It was a little weird. Then again, we're talking about Five, who kind of shifts through time all the time, so maybe they're just playing with time shifts.
Yeah, I don't think so, because they made a big deal out of saying that no, he's not going to, because remember, that was the whole thing Elliot said, why don't you just go back in time and change it? And Luther's like, well, the first, or Diego was like, the first time he went back in time, he went to Apocalypse World. The second time he went back in time, he scattered us all through different
times within the world.
So I don't think he's messing around with time. And there might be somebody, like it might be the handler or somebody else is messing around with time. But the editing or continuity of this episode was just a little off for me.
Yeah, I agree. Thinking back at it, I've only watched it about 2-3 times.
Yeah,
I saw it twice recently. Obviously, the first one I binged, but watching it the 2 times past, and in my head, I was thinking that, Five had brought them back. They had the meeting, and then they decided out of the blue, let's just go to the salon, get tacos, go to the salon, and have a drinking.
Right.
Fun.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way it went. It just was weirdly the way it was all put together, just for me.
Yeah. And that would bring me to my number 4, which, that would be Luther's beginning when he first gets to that particular time, when he first shows up in, what was it, 1960 or 1961? I forget.
I can't remember. We said what year he got there. I can't remember. Was he the first one?
Yes, it seemed like he was the first one to be there.
Yeah, so it was either 60 or 61. I don't remember. We had that in our notes, but yeah.
Yeah, and he goes out, and the first thing he does once he gets there, after screaming at Allison next to the homeless guy, he starts to seek out Reginald, the father, Hargreaves himself, and he was all prepared to find him and tell Reginald pretty much everything. I'm from the future. I'm your son. You adopted all of us, and goes through the story. But the fact that, Luther looks around, he sees a party going on in the house, which he's probably never ever seen in his life while living there.
Yeah.
And this is something that is unlike Reginald. But basically Reginald tosses him aside, saying, "You're not my son." And no, that's crazy. And now Hargreaves knows that the kids, about the kids, and knows what's to come, regardless of his not acknowledging it. He has a little bit of this information because Luther already put that in his brain. And he's not what Luther expected because, like I said, he was having the party and everything. But now we know why he was being harsh on them when the others approached him. He was attacking them and stuff. And, it's... And then the cool part about the scene, though, is Luther tells him about knowing about the moon base and his experiments on apes. And that's what really triggers Reginald, because he's like, how does anybody else know about that?
Right. In
his head. You could see the reaction in his face. And Luther he says monkeys to Reginald, and then Reginald corrects him. He goes, no, they're apes.
Yeah. This actually was my number 3 as well. So I'll go right into what I had about this whole part, because I do love. I agree. I totally agree with you. I love that we get, because it's been the question we've had the first 4 episodes is, why is Luther so disillusioned? Why is he so like in this dark place? And we get to find out it was because basically when he got there, his dad basically rejected him, and it doesn't. There's a couple of things that I'm not sure, and maybe I'm overthinking it, but I'm almost wondering if Reginald did believe him or knows about him, but also knows that he's out of time, that there's a time problem here.
Probably, yeah.
And so maybe he didn't expect Luther to react the way he did, or something, but definitely he definitely that rejection from Hargreaves to Luther has definitely scarred his character. And I do love the fact, and I want to make sure I don't forget to bring this up, I love that the bus driver is the one that kind of shows compassion to...
He doesn't have enough money to get on, and he just get on there, and he smells.
But he says, "Oh, go ahead and get on there." And it's just one of those things that we haven't seen a lot of that from, he looked to be a black character, so I was it was nice that we got that image. And so, yeah, I think we might hear some more about this when they actually meet Reginald, and that might be the next episode when he and Diego have their light supper. I thought that was interesting when he emphasized the word light.
Yeah, especially since Luther pounds down a ton.
He's been eating a lot. And that was another thing that Strange Indeed mentioned. I guess there's an arc in the comics where Luther kind of gets fat from eating a lot.
Oh, really?
And so they're wondering if this was kind of a homage. His always eating is kind of a homage to that comic storyline. So I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. It seemed kind of cool. They brought it up on their podcast. And that's when he leaves the family meeting, is when 5 brings up their father. So
yeah, and to add on to Reginald, when Luther had that conversation, he brings it up saying that in 1989, meaning he actually gave Reginald the date.
Yeah.
So now that would stick in Reginald's mind for him to seek out these kids.
Yeah, and like I said, that's an interesting...
That's changing time at that point. That's like a kind of like a Back to the Future thing.
Well, that's an interesting way to look at it, is that did Hargreaves... Maybe this is where Hargreaves finds out about the 1989 children, and that he adopts some of them, or has he already known about it? We speculated last season when he released those things into the air that he was from his whatever planet he was on, that that maybe... Anyway, so I think this is all stuff we're gonna find out more maybe down the line, or maybe not. But
yeah.
So since that was my number 3, I think that brings us to your number 3.
Yeah, which would be, well, the cracking of the window when Carl and Sissy had their little bit of an argument about getting away from. And it was basically in front of Harlan and Vanya at that point, when Harlan was playing with his operation game.
Yeah.
And Vanya was sitting there too, and she was being all uncomfortable. Obviously, Harlan was just as well, but he's not very verbal.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see the intensity between both Harlan and Vanya. And Harlan's operation game is going crazy because he's hitting everything, and the noises and the noises going off. And then all of a sudden you see some sort of power thing between them, and then the crack on the window.
Yeah.
So which person did that come from? And I was thinking maybe it was Harlan.
It could be. I hadn't thought about that, but I definitely knew. Vanya's eyes do go white, and Harlan sees her. So I think there's
And he shows a little bit of compassion to her too. He holds her
reaches out and
hand.
touches her. Yeah. So I'm sure this is part of just us, to remind us that most of the time when Vanya uses her powers, it's because she's becoming upset or she's angry or afraid. And
Yeah, that's when her powers come out.
Right. And last episode was the only time, or 2 episodes ago, when she saved, or was that last? Yeah, it was last episode when she saved Harlan. Is the only time we've seen them come out in kind of a controlled manner. So that was interesting.
Yes.
So my number 2 is just that the family finally figures out that everything in their lives is kind of centered around the Kennedy assassination. That even in the first season, we had moments of this when 5 reveals that it was the day of Kennedy's assassination, that he finally discovered the right formula so that he could get back to them. And so we're definitely going to have, if there's not going to be a meeting between the 2 5s, there's definitely going to be some kind of story arc, I'm sure, between the 2 5s, the adult 5 and the young 5. But I thought that was really great, and just the fact that Diego is so obsessed with this, that he's the one who makes the connection and goes, he tells Luther, you're working for Jack Ruby, and he even speculates that maybe this family that Vanya's with may have some sort of connection to Kennedy, and he's like, I bet we find out that this is connected, and so it'll be interesting to see if that rings true, or if this is just a red herring for us all to chase down.
That is true, and I just love Diego's obsession with Kennedy's assassination.
Exactly, yeah.
I would not be surprised, and it really does point towards the whole grassy knoll situation during Kennedy's assassination, so I anticipate seeing a lot of those scenes, because that is a monumentous thing that happened in history.
Exactly.
To see that, and it's been covered all over and over again. There's been a major movie out there about it.
More than one. There's lots of movies out there about it, but yeah.
Oh, definitely.
You're right.
But I'm just saying that's like this has been done over and over again, so it'd be curious to see what the twist would be on that.
Yeah.
So that would bring me to my number 2.
Your number 2, yes.
So that would be all of them together when 5 brings Allison and Klaus to meet the rest of them. I just love that they came together, just to see all of them. So it's like, all right, this is happening. They're gonna do this. It's that mid-episode of the show, so that things are gonna happen. So the fact that we see Allison hugging Vanya, because I think after the last time that she saw her is when her throat was cut.
Yeah, exactly.
And the fact that Klaus just coming in and then giving a hug too, on getting in on that, and then of course Klaus asking, did we all just get a little sexy as he walks in?
I had that quote in my notes that I thought that was a great line from Klaus there to break up the tension. And
yeah, it was a nice moment. But we know that once they are all together, like I said, this is the beginning, or maybe it's the beginning of the end. Who knows?
Yeah, because I mean, as I mentioned earlier, what happens is they all end up separating. Well, not all of them, but they all kind of go their separate ways. There, by the end, it's Vanya goes back to the farmhouse. We see Allison go back to Ray, and she's going to talk to him. Klaus goes back to his cult, and Diego is where did Diego? Oh, Diego and Luther were the only ones that were together, because 5 was fighting with Lila. So. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Ray and Allison. Is she going to get him to believe her that she's not a plant by the cops, that she's actually has this superpower, and what's going to happen there, and then of course what's going to happen between Vanya and Sissy, as she was almost almost sounded like Sissy was kind of rejecting her at one point. And
like it was like a one-time fling.
yeah,
or,
that was just pillow talk, and that was just morning talk, and and you're like, oh, it just breaks your heart. But so it's going to be interesting in the next episode. So it's like you said, this is kind of that mid-season kind of thing that Netflix does really well, I think.
Yeah, it's that middle half of, like, it's like you already had your first act, this is the middle act, and then we're going to go right into the third.
Exactly. So my number one is, as I started to talk about, is that fight between Lila and Five, set to the Interrupters, the bad guy, which I think we haven't heard that since Brightburn. Was it Brightburn that had that song there at the end? I'm the bad guy. That I'm not gonna try to sing it, but
yeah, I think so. Yeah,
this show is, it does a really great thing with the music and with these fight scenes and the dance things, and it just was really, the first time I watched it, I kind of thought, does she have a power? Like, is she teleporting herself or something like Five is? And then, of course, Five figures out that it's the handler stopping time and allowing her to move. They just weren't showing us, because we've seen the handler do that before with that episode in season 1 where she stopped time and then was able to separate Five from that stopped time moment. So Five figures out that that's what's going on here, is that the handler is stopping time and allowing Lila to move out of the way or whatever.
Which kind of makes me think, because at the very end, Five had the upper hand, and this was my number one too, that fight between Five and Lila.
Yeah,
I was waiting for this to happen for a while now, but the choreography was great and how they did it, but I figured Lila was just a regular assassin based upon how Five was able to, get the upper hand, and she had nowhere to go. You would think if she had a power, she'd be able to get out of his foot, on her throat. But of course, at the very end, this is a setup by the handler to make some sort of deal again, as she usually tries to do.
Yeah, and we'll probably find out later, again, what's going on there.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got some notes. Let's see. I don't remember Grace having... The robot Grace didn't have a Texas accent, right?
No.
Okay. No. So this is, I think that just confirms for us, if we weren't sure last episode, this confirms for us that this is probably the real Grace that the robot was based upon. And something jumped out at me in the second time watching this, that I think maybe what is getting Five suspicious is the fact that Lila has not questioned at all the fact that they call him Five.
Correct.
Like she's
she just accepts it.
Yeah, she's like, your brother's name is Five? Like,
Yeah, I know. You would think, it's like, why do you call him Five? Because he has 5 fingers, 5 toes?
Right, yeah, or what's the point? Why are you... And so it would be one of those things where somebody might key in on that fact that you didn't even find it weird that we were calling him Five.
Correct. Yeah, like, why are you giving a number to your sibling?
Yeah.
Well, that would be number 4 if that were the case.
Yeah. Let's see. What was one of yours? You've only got a couple there.
Well, the conversation, we already topped on it with Lila and the handler. The handler thinks that Lila is too full of herself with all the missions that she has done already.
Oh, you're right. That was at the beginning of the episode, wasn't it? When she was in the hotel room and she's drinking. Okay, now
And then we start to see a little bit of infatuation with Diego, because she was just like, oh, well, just get rid of Diego. And she's like, okay. It's like, she's skirting around it because she really likes Diego that much, And it became more of like the mission to get Five.
Yeah. And then I noticed it last week, but it stood out to me this week, is that member of the 12 that always wears sunglasses. And I guess, I think it was Paik on Strange Indeed mentioned that's modeled after a real guy who they think was part of this cabal. So I didn't realize that, but I guess he's modeled after an actual guy who wore sunglasses all the time. And then you kind of had this. I'm still unclear about the whole thing with Diego's knife. I mean, because the Swedes were already set to kill all the kids.
Yeah, but they need some sort of motivation, I think.
That's what I don't get. They don't need any more motivation than what they have.
I think it had to be Lila or the handler that did that. So I'm pointing more towards. I was pointing more towards
because Lila stole the knife and she gives it to the handler and she goes, here.
Oh, okay. So it's got to be the handler then.
Yeah, but I'm just saying I don't understand what the plan is, because they're already. you're like, it just didn't. It's not tracking with me. Why she would make them more aggressive to kill Diego?
Well, maybe that way she has the group take them out faster, you know? They see that they're coming after them more, so they'll just use their powers to get rid of them. Because she doesn't like, even though she sent them out on that mission, her personal mission, the handler's mission, was to get 5 and to manipulate him. So if they eliminate 5, then
I could see that. Yeah. If it's to point them at Diego rather than 5. Okay.
Correct.
That makes
because
sense.
Lila is trying to protect Diego at times,
right.
And I think the handler caught on to that.
She's trying to. Yes, you're right. Lila, the handler recognizes that Lila likes 5 or has an infatuation with him and
with Diego.
With Diego, and the handler wants to keep 5 alive. She hasn't said why yet. She's just made it very clear that she wants to keep 5 alive. So that makes sense then why she would kill one of the Swedes to make them focus on Diego more, because that gets Diego out of Lila's life and that gets their attention off from killing 5. Okay, I'll go with it. That sounds reasonable.
That's what I was coming up with in that idea. So if anybody disagrees, just let us know.
Yeah. And then it was on my second watch, I realized it made me chuckle, even though it was very macabre, was that they had the guy's leftover leg when they did their little Viking funeral thing. The Swedes, for their remember they got blown up by the mine. They had his leg in the boat because that's all they had left of him. And
I caught that in the first watch actually, and I started laughing. That's all they got left of him.
It made me chuckle both this time because I realized, oh, that's his foot in the boat. Okay, I get it.
That's all they had to burn or bury, you know?
Yeah, it was funny, and I thought it was kind of cool the way they tracked that arrow and shot it from, you kind of see it go through the sky, and it almost looks like Vanya sees it, but I don't think she saw it. I think it was just meant to be a good scene transition.
Yeah, but I still get a chuckle out of that stupid scene. We already talked about the one that the last one I had. It was about Klaus's reluctance to say, that Ben is with him, but I still find that funny.
All right, so we've got a few quotes here.
Yeah.
You want to start with yours?
Yeah, the first one would be from Diego, and he says, "You're all missing the big picture here. Dad is the ringleader of a sinister cabal that's planning to kill the president." And I just love Luther's reaction. He goes, "Cabal?" after he's like eating a whole bowl full of scrambled eggs.
Yeah, a giant bowl of scrambled eggs. Yeah. My first one was, it just was that quick little scene we have where Grace says to Reggie, she says, "Reggie, he's sleeping." And it was just so sweet the way she said it, and it just showed us so much that in that one little scene, we got to see so much of what was going on between that relationship there, and whether there's a romantic relationship between Grace and Reggie, there's definitely a kind of a maternal thing between Grace and Pogo, and I thought that was very touching.
Yeah, definitely. The last one I would have would be Elliot saying, "Oh, I would love to see an energy tentacle." And that was after Diego was playing with the knife, explaining that Vanya had him suspended in the air, sucking the life out of him with the energy tentacle the last season at the end.
Yeah, that was good. So one of the ones I had was Ben, when he's talking to Klaus, he says, "Curious, how many rock bottoms are you going to hit before you start taking care of yourself?" And then Diego, when they're talking, when Luther tells them the story about being rejected by their father, he says, "Bro, he shanked your heart." And then, of course, you already brought up the one from Klaus when he says, "I know this is impossible, but did we all get sexier?"
Yeah, exactly.
And the last one I had was just another real quick one, but I thought it was a very interesting philosophy from Diego when Luther's complaining about that, we're not important, we're not going to change the world, and Diego says, "Everyone changes the world, Luther, everyone, and it's scary, but that's kind of the deal." And I really just liked that whole interaction between the two of them, and that kind of philosophy, that idea that the world is important, everyone is important to the world. That whole idea of no one person we don't lose one person for no reason, or that everyone has something. And I thought that was just kind of cool.
Yeah, that's nice. And that was it.
That's it. That's our top fives and our quotes. That was a quick one today.
Yeah.
No feedback. I kind of looked at the email. I didn't see anything, and maybe I guess we need to post something for next week. Definitely get something posted in the Facebook group for episode 6, and see if people will give us some feedback there. But you've got some comic news for us.
Yeah, the only one that I would have would be, it's sad, but you and I both heard it last night as we were doing a movie watch with Ben, as we were watching Bill and Ted Face the Music, and sadly enough, Chadwick Boseman passed away after a 4-year battle with colon cancer. I just loved his performance as Black Panther, and he's done a lot of historical, people in movies as well. So, he's going to be missed, and he was such a talent. So the state of the MCU is going to have to change, I guess, with this, because Black Panther is supposed to be a big part of what goes forth.
Yeah, had they filmed that sequel yet, or was that still in the works? No,
that was still in the works. So, but my theory is that they could easily make it his sister, and she taking on.
They could bring,
and they could easily CG
and
him like losing a battle or something. But that to me, that was a hard one to hit. And, we're doing this Saturday, August 29th, and we heard it last night, 28th, around, I guess around 10 o'clock or something. So
the podcast recommendation I have is that John and Derek of TV Podcast Industries, they are covering Lovecraft Country on HBO, which I absolutely love. It's a great TV show right now. They're releasing it. I think they're releasing it right now. They're releasing it both on their Dreadful podcast feed and on the main feed as well. But I think when they start The Boys, they're going to switch to just the Dreadful. I would think they'll switch to just the Dreadful podcast. I don't know. If you're following TV podcast industries out there, check them out. Lovecraft Country. It's a great show. They got some early, they got some of the episodes early, but they're still releasing weekly. So I'm sending them voicemails at some point that'll catch up, or I'll catch up to them.
They're really cool. Plus, if you guys that are listening, if you have not got into Lovecraft Country, basically it's in the same era of the Umbrella Academy now, what they're doing in the 60s. So it's around that time. I think it's around the Oklahoma riots, wasn't it?
No. This is just after the Korean War. So it's
really?
It's mid to late 50s is when the time frame for this is, because he was coming back from the Korean War, the main
okay.
character. So,
there's a lot of racial tension in it too, by the way, just to
I didn't know that H.P. Lovecraft was such a very big racist. I did not know that.
Yes.
And so this is not a show about him. It's not about Lovecraft, but what it is,
it's about his stories.
It's kind of follows some of his stories, but it's also very clear that they're showing the same kind of racial stuff that we're getting a little bit of in the Umbrella Academy. And it's just another one of those kind of social commentaries that we're getting of the time today that we really have not progressed as far as we thought we had.
That's a good one to recommend.
Yeah.
Definitely TV Podcast Industries. The one I would have would be, I suggest everybody go listen to Run for Your Lives podcast on the Pirate Core Entertainment. And yes, this is brand new news. It should have been in news, but I launched the Pirate Core Entertainment Network. You could find that at piratecoreentertainment.com. And we launched it with Run for Your Lives with Daphne and Paik. And the first episode is up, and you could listen to them and their thoughts and review on the movie Tremors. So just check out Pirate Core Entertainment. Follow us there on our Facebook page. Check out our website. There will be definitely another podcast come within the next few weeks that I'm working on. I will be looking for people to come on just to talk about cool things. The subject for that one particular podcast will be action movies, so anything from the 70s and up. And basically, we'll be reviewing those particular movies, just like how Daphne and Paik are just going through all different monster movies, disaster movies, and anything that makes you run for your life. So check that out on Pyrocore Entertainment, and please follow them, and check them out on Spotify. Eventually, you'll get that on Apple Podcasts and on Google Podcast. So since it was just launched yesterday.
Yeah, very cool. Well, we can be heard on just about any podcast player of choice. You can find Panels to Pixels podcast. We also have a website, as Mark just mentioned, panelstopixelspodcast.com. We're on Facebook with the facebook.com/panels to pixels. You can email us at panelstopixels1@gmail.com. That's panels to pixels1. The TO is spelled out right there in the middle. The number 1 at gmail.com. You can also call us at 845-350-2095. That's 845-350-2095. We are on YouTube under Panels to Pixels podcast there. So subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up. And of course, you can send us feedback for any of the episodes of the Umbrella Academy season 2. Just make sure you mark it as what episode you're sending us about, because Mark and I are doing 1 episode a week right now. We'll see how things go here in the next few weeks if we decide to double up or not. But right now we're still 1 episode a week. So next week we will be doing episode 6 of the Umbrella Academy. I have not watched it yet, so I probably will watch it as soon as we get done podcasting about it, because I want to see what happens next.
Yes. And where else can listeners hear us? Well, I could be found right here on Panels to Pixels, as well as sending out feedback to our friends that do podcasts as well. So also keep in mind, like I said, Daphne and Paik have launched Run for Your Lives, their podcast. I will be guesting on a later episode when it comes out, and probably in another month, on one of the movies that they're covering. So I'll be on that. So you could keep listening out for them to hear me there. And Steve, where could you be found?
Well, I as well can be heard right here on Panels to Pixels, and I send voicemails to various other podcasts that are out there, whether it's on our network or someone else's network. But definitely check out the Next Level Podcast Network, Next Level Online Podcast Network, for all the great podcasts are available there.
Yes. And that's pretty much our show. Thanks everybody for listening. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
And this was Panels to Pixels, and we'll see you on the next panel. Good night, everybody.
Good night.